A stressed single dad CEO hires a clown for his daughter's birthday party. When a disheveled woman shows up late, he almost turns her away. But she transforms into the most amazing entertainer he's ever seen, hiding a secret past that will change both their lives forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. James Parker checked his watch for the 5th time in 10 minutes. The clown was late and Lily's birthday party was about to start. 30 excited 7-year-olds would be arriving any minute, and his daughter's heart would break if the entertainment he had promised didn't show up. "Daddy, when is the clown coming?" Lily tugged at his sleeve, her blue eyes wide with anticipation. She wore the princess dress he had bought her, complete with a small tiara perched on her blonde curls. "Soon, sweetheart. Very soon." James forced a smile, though inside he was panicking. Being both CEO of Parker Innovations and a single father to Lily wasn't easy. He had delegated most of the party planning to his assistant, but he'd insisted on booking the clown himself. Now he regretted not double-checking the arrangements. The doorbell rang and James nearly sprinted to answer it. Please be the clown, he thought desperately. When he swung open the door, the woman standing there was definitely not what he expected. Instead of an already costumed clown, he found a young woman with a large duffel bag slung over her shoulder. She had curly brown hair pulled back in a messy ponytail and wore jeans and a simple t-shirt with "Happy Faces Entertainment" printed across the front. "Mr. Parker?" she asked, slightly out of breath. "I'm so sorry I'm late. My car broke down and I had to take 3 buses to get here." "You're the clown?" James couldn't hide his disappointment, or his worry. "Nina Reyes." She extended her hand. "And yes, I'm the entertainer you booked. I just need 10 minutes to change into my costume and put on my makeup." James reluctantly let her in, checking his watch again. "The kids are arriving any minute. We don't have 10 minutes. Nina's smile faltered for just a second before she squared her shoulders. "I'll make it work. Just point me to a bathroom I can use." As James directed her upstairs, the doorbell rang again. The first guest had arrived. He plastered on his CEO's smile, the one he used during difficult board meetings, and prepared to stall 30 children while hoping this unpromising clown would somehow save the day. 15 minutes later, James was sweating through his expensive shirt. The living room was full of restless children, and Lily kept looking at him with increasingly worried eyes. He was just about to announce that they'd start with cake instead of the entertainment when he heard a commotion from the hallway. "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Princess Lily." A musical voice called out, and the room fell silent as a figure cartwheeled into the center of the living room. James stared in amazement. Nina had transformed completely. Her face was painted in vibrant colors, with exaggerated features that somehow managed to be funny without being scary. She wore a colorful patchwork dress with mismatched striped socks and oversized shoes. But most striking was her energy. The room instantly lit up with her presence. "I heard there's a birthday princess in this castle today," she called out dramatically, and all eyes turned to Lily, who was now grinning from ear to ear. What followed was the most impressive children's entertainment James had ever witnessed. Nina wasn't just a clown, she was a storyteller, a magician, a balloon artist, and seemingly had endless games up her colorful sleeves. The children were captivated, and none more than Lily, who couldn't take her eyes off the clown who had made her the star of every activity. "She's amazing," James's sister Rebecca whispered as she joined him at the edge of the room. Rebecca had flown in specially for Lily's birthday, and now watched the scene with an appraising eye. "Where did you find her?" "Just got lucky, I guess," James replied, not wanting to admit how close the party had come to disaster. As Nina led the children in a dance, James noticed something about her movements. Despite her exaggerated clown persona, there was a grace to the way she moved. It reminded him of ballet, Rebecca said, nodding toward Nina. "She's had professional training. Look at her posture, even in that ridiculous outfit." James watched more carefully and realized his sister was right. There was a precision to Nina's movements that spoke of years of training. The party continued with games, magic tricks, and finally, Nina creating elaborate balloon animals for each child. When she presented Lily with a balloon crown to match her tiara, his daughter's face lit up with pure joy. For the first time in months, James felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Since losing his wife to cancer 2 years ago, Lily's smiles had been too rare, and her laughter even rarer. As the party wound down and parents began collecting their children, James noticed Nina quietly packing up her supplies in the corner. She had already wiped off most of her makeup, revealing a face that was naturally pretty, with expressive eyes and a scattering of freckles across her nose. Thank you, he said, approaching her with Lily's hand in his. You really saved the day. Nina smiled, and without the clown makeup, her smile was warm rather than exaggerated. It was my pleasure. Princess Lily was a wonderful hostess. She knelt down to Lily's level. Thank you for letting me be part of your special day. Lily, usually shy around strangers, surprised James by throwing her arms around Nina's neck. You're the best clown ever, she declared. As Nina hugged Lily back, James noticed something else, a thin scar running along her hairline near her temple. It was mostly hidden by her curly hair, but visible now that she was up close. Daddy, can Miss Nina come to my next birthday too? Lily asked, looking up at him with pleading eyes. Before James could answer, Nina gently disentangled herself from Lily's hug. I should get going. Big day tomorrow. She stood and hefted her bag onto her shoulder, wincing slightly. Are you okay? James asked. Just a little sore. Did one too many cartwheels today, she joked, but he could tell she was in genuine pain. Let me at least call you a car. It's the least I can do after you saved this party. Nina hesitated, then nodded. That would be great, actually. Thank you. While waiting for the car, James found himself wanting to know more about this woman who had transformed from a harried latecomer to the star of his daughter's party. Rebecca, my sister, thought you might have ballet training, he said. Nina's eyes widened in surprise. She's observant. Yes, I was with the San Francisco Ballet for 8 years. And now you're a clown? Nina finished with a small laugh. Life takes unexpected turns, Mr. Parker. There was something in her voice, a hint of loss or regret, that struck a chord with James. Before he could ask more, the car arrived. Nina thanked him again, gave Lily one last high five, and was gone. That night, after putting an exhausted but happy Lily to bed, James found himself thinking about Nina. There was a story there, something beyond the obvious career change from ballet dancer to children's entertainer. He was intrigued, and not just professionally. The next morning, while reviewing his schedule with his assistant, James made a decision. Sarah, do we have contact information for the clown from yesterday? Happy Faces Entertainment. Sarah nodded, already pulling up the information. Nina Reyes. Do you want me to book her for another event? No, I'll handle it, James said, taking the contact details. He wasn't sure exactly what he wanted to say to her, but he knew he wanted to talk to her again. That afternoon, instead of calling, James found himself driving to the address listed for Happy Faces Entertainment. It turned out to be a small storefront in a modest neighborhood, with a cheerful sign featuring cartoon balloons and stars. Through the window he could see Nina showing a young boy how to twist a balloon into the shape of a dog. She wore a colorful vest over a simple white shirt, her hair pulled back in the same messy ponytail. Even without the full clown costume, she had the children in the shop laughing. James hesitated, suddenly feeling foolish. What was he doing here? He was about to turn away when Nina looked up and saw him. Recognition flashed across her face, followed by confusion. She said something to an older woman behind the counter, then came to the door. Mr. Parker, she said as she stepped outside, clearly surprised. Is everything okay? Did I forget something at your house? No, nothing like that, James said, feeling increasingly awkward. Lily hasn't stopped talking about you. The party was a huge success thanks to you. Nina smiled but still looked puzzled. I'm glad she enjoyed it. I was wondering if, James paused, realizing he hadn't thought this through, if you might be free for coffee sometime. To discuss future events. It sounded lame even to his own ears. Nina studied him for a moment, then her expression softened. Mr. Parker. James, please. James. That's very kind, but I don't typically socialize with clients. Her tone was gentle but firm. Of course. I understand. James felt his face grow warm. I apologize if I overstepped. Nina seemed about to say more when the door opened behind her, and the older woman James had seen inside poked her head out. Nina, your physical therapist called. They had a cancellation and can take you at 4 if you can make it. Nina nodded. Thanks, Maggie. I'll be right in. Once the door closed again, she turned back to James with a sigh. I should get back to work. Of course, James said. I'm sorry for the intrusion. As he turned to leave, Nina called after him. James? He looked back. I teach a children's dance class on Saturday mornings at the community center on Pine Street. It's for kids ages 6 to 8. Lily might enjoy it. Before he could respond, Nina had disappeared back into the shop. That Saturday, James found himself sitting on an uncomfortable folding chair in a community center, watching Nina lead a group of children, including an enthusiastic Lily, through basic ballet positions. Without clown makeup, Nina was even more striking, her movements graceful and precise as she demonstrated each position. After class, as the children were changing their shoes, Nina approached him. "She's a natural," she said, nodding toward Lily. "Great turnout and excellent balance." "Like her mother," James said softly. "She was a dancer too, though not professional." Nina's expression was sympathetic, and James realized she had guessed that Lily's mother was no longer in the picture. "Well, she clearly has talent," Nina said. "Will you be bringing her again next week?" "If she wants to come," James replied. "And judging by that smile, I think she will." Over the next few weeks, Saturday mornings became the highlight of both James and Lily's week. James learned that Nina had indeed been a soloist with the San Francisco Ballet until a car accident 2 years ago had ended her career. The physical therapy appointments were part of her ongoing recovery, though she admitted to James that she would never dance professionally again. "That must have been devastating," James said one day as they sat on a park bench watching Lily play after class. Nina looked thoughtful. "It was. Dance had been my whole life since I was 4 years old. When the doctors told me I wouldn't perform again, I felt like I'd lost my identity." She smiled, watching a group of children across the playground. "But then I remembered why I loved ballet in the first place. It wasn't just the performance, it was how it made people feel. The joy and wonder in the audience's eyes." "So you became a clown," James said, finally understanding. "Not right away," Nina laughed. "I was pretty lost for a while. But then I started volunteering at the children's hospital, just reading stories at first. One day, one of the recreation therapists was sick, and they asked if anyone could help entertain the kids in the long-term care unit." She shrugged. "I found some old makeup in the supply closet, improvised a costume, and it felt right. Making children laugh became a new kind of performance." As Nina spoke, James felt a deepening respect for her resilience. They had both faced life-altering losses but had found ways to move forward. "What about you?" Nina asked. "Rebecca mentioned that you took over as CEO fairly recently." James nodded. "After Maria, my wife, died, I almost stepped down. I couldn't balance the company and being a single parent. But then I realized the company was part of what would secure Lily's future, and Maria would have wanted me to continue her father's legacy." As they continued to talk, James realized how long it had been since he'd had a conversation like this. One that wasn't about business strategies or Lily's school progress. It felt surprisingly comfortable. The following week, instead of their usual post-class conversation at the park, James took a chance. "Lily and I were planning to try that new pizza place down the street for lunch. Would you like to join us?" Nina hesitated, and for a moment James thought she would decline. But then Lily bounded over, still in her leotard and ballet slippers. "Yes, Miss Nina. Please come. Daddy says they have the best ice cream too." Looking at Lily's hopeful face, Nina smiled. "How can I say no to that? I'd love to join you." That lunch marked a turning point. Over pizza and ice cream, with Lily chattering happily between them, the last of the formality between James and Nina melted away. They discovered shared tastes in music and books, and James found himself laughing more than he had in years. As weeks turned into months, their relationship evolved naturally. Nina began joining them for movie nights and Sunday afternoon picnics. Lily flourished under Nina's gentle guidance, not just in dance but in confidence. And James found himself looking forward to each moment they spent together. On the evening of Lily's half-birthday, a tradition Maria had started, James invited Nina over for a small celebration dinner. After Lily had blown out the candles on her half-cake and gone upstairs to try on the new ballet shoes Nina had given her, James and Nina found themselves alone in the kitchen. "Thank you," James said, leaning against the counter. "Not just for tonight but for everything these past few months. You've brought something back to our lives that I thought was gone forever." Nina looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the warm kitchen light. "You both did the same for me," she said softly. "After my accident, I never thought I'd feel this kind of connection again." James moved closer, drawn by the emotion in her voice. "Nina, Daddy, Miss Nina, look." Lily's excited voice broke the moment as she twirled into the kitchen in her new ballet shoes. "I can do a real pirouette now." As they both turned to watch Lily demonstrate her new skill, James caught Nina's eye over his daughter's head. The smile they shared held a promise, that whatever was growing between them, they would explore it together at their own pace, with Lily's happiness at the center. Later that night, after Nina had gone home and Lily was asleep, James stood at his daughter's bedroom door, watching her peaceful dreams. He thought about how a late clown and a nearly ruined birthday party had somehow led to this new chapter in their lives. Sometimes, he realized, the most unexpected beginnings led to the most beautiful stories.